I tried to learn Blender in 1 week with the goal of making a simple scene with the vending machine inside of it. What the fuck is going on? For those of you that don't know, Blender is a free and open source 3D computer graphics tool set that is used to do a lot of things, mainly animated films, visual effects, art, 3D models, motion graphics, interactive 3D applications, virtual reality, and video games. So basically, it does some cool shit. I wanted to learn Blender for years, mainly because of all the cool things you can do with it, but the other part was also because of all the cool stuff you could do with it. So here's the thing, a lot of people show off what they do in a month or a year and all the creations they make. I will not be doing that because I think they're all Blender geniuses. And you know, in a week, I just don't think I'll be able to quite get there. How do I move around and see stuff? How do I move? In order to make a good vending machine scene, I really wanted to have a good 3-step plan of success. So here's step number 1. Follow the Blender Messiah himself. Now, also known as Blender Guru, he is kind of like a rite of passage for all Blenderists to do to really get a good grasp of the program. Step number 2, make a vending machine. Now, I think this is arguably the most important part of the process because this is the vending machine after all. So I think this is the most important. And step number 3, win. The first time I've ever opened up Blender. What the fuck is going on? And so began my Blender learning journey, if you will. And even though I had a kick-ass 3-step plan, it really broke down into a day-by-day journey of learning bits and pieces and refining that knowledge. On day 1, I spent a lot of time learning the basics of modeling. You know, as someone that's never messed around in building anything in 3D besides maybe Legos, I was really overwhelmed and got lost within my scene, trying to move the camera around, trying to align my objects. And by day 2, I was finally able to move on to texturing, which I think is the most difficult part, but it's pretty much just making sure it looks like what you're trying to make. On day 3, I finally finished my donut by tying up all the loose ends, whether it was animation, geometry nodes, camera settings, and everything else. And if there's one thing I learned here, it's that rendering takes forever to finish. Are you kidding me? No way! I fucking made dinner and it's still not done. Ah! So after I waited eons for this render to finish, here was my first ever render result. That pretty much is my first ever render. Now, that was pretty big for me, but that kind of ends phase 1, which brings us into phase 2, and that's when it gets really hard. So I've kind of drawn what I'm looking forward to do in this scene. I don't know if you can really see it here, but you can see the vending machines are there, and there's a building, and it's against the vending machine. It's kind of like a canopy thing, and there's like a street and another building. You can tell I'm actually not a good artist at all. And so it began. The most important step of the vending machine, making the actual vending machine. I first began by generally setting the scene, modeling a vending machine, which was super easy, buildings, things that are pretty self-explanatory. The hard part became texturing and making it look real. And I quickly realized that I had no idea what I was doing with the texturing area and realized that there was something called image texturing. Basically, you can take any asset or image from online and just place it onto your object, and generally it will look okay, with some tweaking, of course. See, while doing image textures were quick and dirty, it made renders look very unrealistic and almost like someone photoshopped a bunch of images in, which it kind of is, to be fair. So after that, I spent more time trying to build a better environment, more street lamps, modeled buildings a little bit more to match the image texture that I used, and just try and not make everything felt so two-dimensional. Finally, on the last day, with very limited time that I had, I just decided to add as many details as possible, adding a neon sign, some posters in the background, polishing and refining the previous 2 days' work. And after encountering some problems at the last minute— Stop the fucking render! I stopped it on accident! I had to fucking restart the fucking 2 hours, man. I finally was able to hit render as the day ended to get a final product after 1 week of learning the program. And here it is. Okay, so maybe it's not the most amazing thing in the world, but I made it completely from scratch with no idea how to do anything in Blender only a week ago. For example, just looking at this, I know there's plenty of things I would want to fix. I'd want to make the ground look less two-dimensional, I'd want to fix the lighting of the scene as a whole to have more contrast on the buildings and the shadows. I want to retexture the buildings and the light post to have the light bounce off of it better. I mean, there's a million things, but despite it all, the Blender crashes, the render times, the overwhelming UI, it was extremely gratifying to see something come out by the end of the 1 week. So now I'm going to go back and watch all these tutorials to make sure I can get a proper grasp of what Blender can do and have a better baseline to move forward. And maybe, just hopefully, you'll be coming back here in a year to see all the cool stuff I've made in Blender in the past year.